Hey guys, Kirk here, and thank you for joining me on a new video on the channel. In this week's video we're going to be looking at snow caps. Essentially what snow caps are bits of snow that remain at the top of a mountain or at the peaks of a mountain, and that's because at that altitude the air is a lot thinner and cooler up there and takes a lot longer to defrost. So yeah, that's what I want to showcase in this week's video, building snow caps. Building the logic up and applying it to the shader that we're using in Buildworld V2. If you're using a different kind of landscape shader, I cannot help onto where you place this particular function for snow caps, but the logic that we enclose inside the function for snow caps should work for you anyway, but placing it in your landscape shader I'm not too sure because I can't see your shader. Anyway, just as always guys, I want to say a big thank you to my subscribers and likes on the videos. The channel has just gone over a year old now, and I wouldn't still be here doing this if it weren't for you guys subscribing and liking each video that I bring out. It's really appreciated. And a word for my membership program members, go ahead and cancel your membership. There is a message in Discord. I'm pretty much certain all of you got that message. But there's a message in Discord going about why, but I will look at other means for you guys to support what I am doing, as a couple of you have asked for that. So yeah, let's get on with the video. So essentially what I want to do is come to my content drawer, and in the landscape shader folder you should have a copy of this. If you are a level 2 member on YouTube, you should have a copy of this folder, but if not, then you can go ahead and create this function where you want. But I'm going to come into my functions folder. I'm going to right click, go to material, and then material function. And I'm just going to call this snow underscore cap underscore function. I'll tell you what, I'll just call it snow caps. Like so. And essentially this is going to contain everything that we need to build up our snow caps. So what I'm going to do is come back to my landscape shader. I'm going to go to the auto material folder, and this is my auto material function. I'm going to open that up again. I'll say again, I've not done it before now. And we're going to set our function about here, and that way it's going to be on top of our slope information here, or slope logic. So I'm going to set this function right here, but we obviously need to build it up. So I am going to come to, one word as well. In the layers folder, I have a snow layer here, which I've already got the textures and the material layer already imported. Unfortunately for the YouTube members, this won't be in your particular folder because it's not been updated yet. But in the next one it will be, along with the function itself and all that good stuff. But if you want to go ahead and simply like duplicate one of these layers, I'd recommend Dirt A, that particular layer. Just go ahead and duplicate that function and rename everything inside, like I've showcased in previous videos. Okay, so I've now lost my train of thought. Yeah, that's it. So I'm going to open up my snowcap function. And what I need first is a... Hang on a minute, I don't have to do this. Let me go into my function. I've got a layer blending function here. This will also be available for you guys who have a copy of the project. For you guys who have not, I'm going to open it up. You can go ahead and pause the video and then just duplicate what I've got here in this function. And we're going to use that in this particular function for our snow caps. For the top layer, I'm going to drag in a function input. So I'm going to right click, we're going to drag off the input. Get a function input. I'm going to rename this to material input. So I can go ahead and duplicate that and just call this height input. So one input's for our material that's going to be coming in from here, which is these two outputs here, which is our material blend and our height blend. They're going to come out and come straight into these inputs here, like so. And why I've got this one, oh wait there, Yeah, hang on a minute. Oh, wait there. What we'll do, actually, we'll change this. We're going to change the input type from a material attribute to a vector 3. Essentially, this will still work, whether it's material attributes or a vector 3, but it's only because my input for the height on the layer blending is a scalar parameter, so I'm going to plug that in via a vector 3. And a vector 3 can read a texture. If I go ahead, hold T and left click on the mouse, you don't have to copy this, but you can see we've got a red, green and blue here, and that's 3 vectors. So red is 1 vector, green is 1 vector, and blue is 1 vector. And when you use a vector 3, that represents using a vector 3 if you like, or you could use that as a vector 3 as well. So yeah, anyway, let's proceed with the video. This is our height input. I am going to change the set priority to a 1. This material attributes 1, the material input is a 0. So yeah, let's go ahead and drag in our material layer. I've gone back one. Go to my layers, snow layer. I'll just drag that snow layer in here like this. I'm going to head open it, make sure we've got no errors in there. Click on the status bar, absolutely no errors. I've got the textures already set up and all that is good to go. And I can simply plug this into my base input like so. Okay, so that's near enough done. I'm going to drag that material blend output into our output result. And I am going to change that to material. I'm going to leave the set priority at 0. I'm going to duplicate this and put this one as height. And this set priority can be a 1, just like the input. Just essentially means that on the outside of the function, like here, at the top here is our material and at the bottom is our height. Just sets an order for them, like so. Okay, so now that is done. All we need is an input for our mask, and this mask is going to drive how our snow caps are applied onto the landscape shader, onto the landscape itself. I'm going to come back to the landscape shader folder, then go to my functions folder. I'm going to right click and get a material functions, and I'm going to call this a height mask because that's what we're going to be using. Is a height mask to drive this in. And the reason I'm calling it a height mask and not something like snow mask or anything like that is because I've got plans in the future for this particular shader where we could utilize this height mask once again, like say for our foliage or our beaches and things like that. This height mask will work for all of them. I'm going to open the height mask up, and I'm not particularly sure how we're going to start this. Let's just give myself a little bit more room here. Let me think. So obviously I reckon we're going to need a wheel position. Yeah, we will. That's all come to fruition. We're going to keep that like that. We're going to drag off this X, Y and Z. I mean, we could drag straight off there. Hold Control and Alt. I mean, that could work. Let's just do it the way I know. So component mask. What I'll do it this way, like I generally would do, like I have done in the past. And then I'll try and use this to see what happens from there. But what I want to do in my component mask, component mask, is masking my B channel and unmask my green and red. So essentially the red, green and blue, like I've stated many times on this channel, represents X, Y and Z that you can see in the corner here. And you can see there the Z offset is blue. So if I'm masking the blue channel from my component mask, it's getting the Z offset information, which in world is downwards and upwards. As you can see in this bottom left hand corner, when I move it, you can see I'm going in the direction of the Z axis. Okay, so now we've got our Z axis. If I right click and start to preview this, we should start seeing this kind of thing going on now, where our image is being displayed in the white part and the black part is not. The black part essentially will be the rest of the material, our landscape material, and the top will be our snow caps. It's quite fortunate that it's white. Let's go ahead and drag in and get a subtract node in here. And this subtract node is going to drive the height at which this is going to show. So if I drag off here and get a function input, off the B input of our subtract, get a function input, and we could simply call this world height, like so. And we can leave the set priority at 0. What I will use next is a divide. I'm not sure whether I want to use a divide or a multiply. And essentially this part is going to control the transition. So if I drag off there and get another function input, because I can apply the scalar parameters outside of this function, and I'll call this world height blend sharpness. I feel like I've not spelled sharpness right, but I'll tell you what, because of that, I'll delete that. World height transition, like that. We'll do that. We can simply drag off that divide and get a saturate node, because I've got to clamp it between 0 and 1. I'll throw that into the output result. I'm going to right click on there and start previewing the node. You can see here not much has changed, so we need to apply some values into these inputs. I'm going to hover over both of the inputs, so both scalar parameters, that's what we need. And in the use preview value as default, I'm going to enable that. And then I'm going to hold 1 on the keyboard and left click and get a value in here. 1 on the keyboard and left click and get a value in there. So this is going to control how sharp this line is here. And this is going to showcase how high it is. So if I click on that, say start with a 50. You can see there that line that's separating black and white is now moving up. If I go to 100, that line should now start getting higher up there. So I'll start with a 1 in there, just to keep it neutral. And in here, this will control how much blending is involved. So if I just bring this up a little bit, you'll see now if I get closer that this line is going to start fading. Like so, and you can see it now starting to fade. Obviously, I'm not sure with YouTube compression, but you can see there that line is fading like that. You can see that fade definitely now. So if I put a 20 in there, let's make this a little bit bigger, so we can see what's going on. So you can see now that fading from the black to the white. If I put a 0 in there now, you can clearly see the difference. Put 25, nice little fade, 0, sharp line. So I'll put a value of 1 in there. So essentially now, because both of these values of these inputs are 1, I can just use the 1, and that'll reduce some sort of minimal cost to the function itself, believe it or not. Okay, so I'm going to hit apply and save that. And I'm going to keep it open because I presume there'll be more work to happen. I'm going to get this height mask and drag it in here. And I'm just going to drag that result into there, like so. Okay, and you can now see that on top is that snow layer. If I open that snow layer, you can see from the example window, that's that snow material, that texture. And in there you can see it now. So what I want to do here is hold S on the keyboard and left click and get a scalar parameter. And this is going to be my snow layer, snow cap world height. Like that, and we can actually duplicate that straight away. And then on the end of it, I'm just going to put transition. Like so. So now from that testing inside this function, I know this is going to want about, oh no, I don't need to put anything in there yet. I'm just going to put a 1 in there, like so. And then in the transition, I'm going to look at about a value of 5. And then we can simply plug these in like that. And now there should be a bit of a transition there. Oh, there you go. It's not transitioning very well, but it will do. So I'm going to start with a 10 transition. The minimum 0.5 0.12345 1. That's the minimum. The value I put in there for the slider minimum is the absolute minimum that you can go to before it hits 0. Press tab, go to the slider max. I'm going to put maybe, so I'll put in here maybe a 50, and in here I shall just put -20 snow cap test. And essentially I'm doing that so these parameters are right at the top of our material instance. I'm going to hit apply in there and save it. Go to my auto material, zoom out a little bit. I'm going to apply our snow caps function into here like this. And you can see there I've got my material attributes and my height input. I'll just simply drag that into there, and then that can carry through like that. Nice and easy. And there you go. I'm going to hit apply and let's hope for the best. I always stay on the screen here while my shaders compile because I don't want it to build up. Because if I am viewing my actual scene, I'm using my GPU power. So when I'm compiling shaders, it will go slower because my GPU is trying to compile the scene as well. And if I go back to the scene, you can see straight away that my snow is on that particular mountain. It's on all of them, to be honest. So I'm going to drop back to my landscape shader, go to the material instance, and this should be right at the top. I'm seeing there that I have only got my snow cap world transition, and that is because I could shut the snow layer down. Just go to my snow cap, and that's because I didn't add them both to the same group. So snow cap test. If I hit apply, I should get both scalar parameters there now, like so. Okay, so this part is actually quite an important part to register when applying snow caps. So essentially, with the way this is now, it kind of looks alright. If I get my snow cap world height and I go to like -5, you'll see that the snow cap is starting to affect below our world height. Go to 1, it'll go above 2, 3, 50, 500. Let's go to a 1500. You can see it's moving up now. Essentially what this particular area is snow cap world height. This information here, let's go inside our height mask. The absolute world position here is getting our information of our world position. So when it's an absolute world position, that's the whole world that you're seeing on screen here, what's in our viewport. So that's the whole world. And what I need to give this actual parameter, snow cap world height, is the actual world height of where I want this snow cap to start. So a good way to find that out, if I speed my camera up here, let's get right over here and go to about, let's say we go to about here. So what I'm going to do is going to get my scale money. I do know the money that I had there was ABP money 4 is right at the way over there. And what I can do with this is right click on it and let's see if I can find it. Look, so you can go on to the snapping and then you want to snap, where is it? Where is it? That's my pivot point. Set as pivot. No. I've actually. There it is. Sorry. Snap view to object or snap object to view. Sorry about that. They must have changed it because I'm sure that was in the snapping. So snap. Well, never mind. But it's here. What I want to do is snap object to view. So if I click on that, it'll bring my mannequin right to me. Yeah, that's just a nice little tip to know. And what I can do now with this kind of information is look for my money, where he is there, and the value I've got in the money's Z location, which is the blue channel, like I said in the component mask, where you set the blue channel as the Z offset. So the Z offset is there. If I just click on that value, left control and C, and then go to my snow cap world height, and then left control and V in there, press enter, and now, well, the transition's quite intense, so it's still down there. But if I reduce my transition, that should have worked, but it's not. That should, because am I using subtract or divide? I think it may be the subtract. Let's just try and move this up a little bit. Oh, just bear with me. That's at 39,546. If I go to 55, 1, 2, 3. That transition's a bit weird. Let's go to a 0. Like so. Then we can go to 51, 1, 2, 3. This is not quite what I was looking for. That transition's massive. Let's go to 50. Let's go -1. 1, 0, 50. So essentially, let's go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait there. Wait there a second. Oh, sorry guys. This is my mistake. Oh my gosh. So essentially, my height mask, I've been showcasing just before about setting your set priority values, and this is why I always state it on my videos about setting the set priority. As you can see, I plugged my world height into the transition and my world height transition into the world height. So if I go to my height mask, and world height is going to be 0, transition I'm going to set as a 1 in the set priority there in the details panel. Oh, silly me, hit apply, and save, go back to my snow caps. You can see they've swapped around now. I'm going to go to world height and then go in there. So that's why I wasn't getting the transition before. Oh well, there's always one, isn't there, guys? Okay, so I'm just going to save that now, and you can see we're getting a really sharp line there. 0, 1, 50. Transitioning now. Let's apply that value in there, Control and V, enter. And you can see now that snow cap has gone right up to the top where that mannequin is. If I press F on the keyboard, it'll zoom into my selected object, which is my mannequin. And now where this pivot point is, it's set that world height to there. And now I can increase the transition, maybe go to a 50, maybe a 1100. There you go, I'm getting that transition now. And I can lower this down a bit more. Oh, a bit too much. Now, like so. So, if I go back to where I was, I'm pretty sure it was over here. Like this. Actually, if I press 1, there it resets to where I set that bookmark. Okay, so as you can see, we've got some snow caps in our mountains. If I reduce that world height, you can see the world height is coming down. And the good thing about why I replace this actual material function with snow caps is after the slope detection and the way these two affect in the world. And you can see that slope detection is working within my snow cap material layer. So if the angle is too much, it will remove the snow, which is great. And that essentially is how you would apply snow caps to the top of a mountain. But we're not done just yet, guys. If I go up now, one thing you can see here is that our snow caps has a massive long straight line. That world height is just one line all the way across these snow caps. If I just reduce this just ever so much, you can see a bit more. Okay, so what I want to do is add a little bit more logic into our height mask here to control the breakup of how this works. One thing I will try, like I said at the beginning, I'm just going to plug that Z into there, like so. I'm going to hit apply. Let's just see what happens here. Hopefully it works. Yeah, it still works. So essentially, With the new 5.2 engine, I am able to use this exposed Z offset instead of having to use a component mask, and that also will reduce the amount of infringements instructions that we use on our landscape shader, even though it's only a tiny little bit. But at the state we're at with this particular landscape shader, that should be fine. So now what I want to do is to add the additional logic in here, and where we could control some sort of breakup. And to do that, we're going to use what's called a vertex normal. Vertex normal in world space, WS. We'll get that. Now we've got this. And essentially what this node's going to do, it's going to calculate, not calculate, it's going to get our information about vertex normals on our surface. And we can utilize them to indicate where we want these breakups to happen. And what I need to do first is to get the length on the Z axis. So I'm going to get a dot product from our vertex normal, and I can use a vector 3. So if I hold 3 on the keyboard and left click, and get a vector 3, and then in the Z offset here, or the blue channel, I'm just going to put a 1, and I'll plug that into the B input of our dot product, and now I'm getting the length of our vertex normals in the Z offset only. This also saves a bit of instruction count, believe it or not. And what I want to do is clamp that between 0 and 1, like so. And now we're all set up. What I want to do is to get a power node. And this power node is going to control how intense this breakup is. I'm going to drag off the exponent input and get a function input. And this is going to be our, we'll call it break up amount, like that. And what I'm going to do is set the priority straight away, so that's 0, then 1, and then this could be a 2. We're going to go ahead and use a function that we've created in the past, which is our cheap contrast with offset. This is the power of functions, guys. I created this quite a few videos ago, and you can keep going back and using the same logic instead of having to build it all up again. I'm just going to input that in there, and this is going to control the contrast amount or the blending amount. So I'll get a function input, and this could be the breakup. I could spell right, break up transition, we'll call it, like so. And like I said before, we're going to keep these names so we can use this in the future as well. So this one's a set priority 2, so this set priority is going to be a 3, like so. And what I want to do is to subtract that into here. So if I right click, oh gosh, don't move it, just right click, subtract. And this will essentially, when you subtract this information into the actual height information, it's going to go from below the height information up towards the height information that we set in our scalar parameter here. So I'm going to come off the, I don't know if to use a clamp or no clamp. I'll use a clamp and I'll invert it. So I'll get a 1 minus, and then I can put that into the subtract like so. And what I can do now is just go ahead and save it. Like so, and you can see we're getting some errors again. That's because we've got no inputs in there. What I could do is simply, we'll just right click and promote to a parameter, just for testing purposes. Right click, promote to a parameter for the transition like so. I'll drag them all and set the group to snowcap test, and this could be a priority of 1, this could be 2, and this could be 3, and that could be 4. The reason I'm doing that is because the breakup, because it's alphabetically first, hence the B is before S in the alphabet, this will be at the top. But now I've set the priority, it won't be, it'll be at the bottom, just where I want it. So I'll hit apply there. And let's go into our scene. Let's build them shaders first. We'll go into our scene. You can see we've got our breakup amount here and our transition. And we'll just wait for them shaders to compile. There is a little trick, I did say this in the previous video, there's a little trick where you can affect how quick your shaders compile. I shall show that in a separate video. Okay, so now we're back in here. What I'm going to start doing is raising this breakup amount. So we'll put a 1 in there, 2, 3, 5, 50, 150. Let's do the transition of 1, 2, 50, 1, 2. Breakup amount don't want to work. 500, 1, 1, 0, 0. Really doesn't want to work. That breakup. Let's just increase that amount. Let's go to 50. 1, 0.12, 1, 2. Let's get a bit closer to our snow caps, so I can see if this breakup is actually taking any form of effect. So 1500, 1, oh right, God, values are way too high then. Wait there a minute. So I'm using power. I may change that. I'm not sure yet, but you can see now how the edge of this, instead of it being a straight line, let's reduce that value. There we go. For some reason it weren't working before, but now I'm doing it. It's working. Let's reduce that transition amount. That's just the amount of blending. You can see that breakup has put an extra layer on top of our actual transition there. Let's reduce that transition. 50. This is going to be like 1500, isn't it? Yeah, there you go. And you can see now how we're getting some sort of breakup. Let's keep increasing that and decrease it. Actually, like so. I reckon they're good. Around that area is good. And now you can see that breakup on our snow caps. There. Like so. Let's see if we can find our snow layer. There we are. So our UVs are a little bit too big. Oh wait there. 15, 1, 2. The actual snow cap material layer, I'll reset these. Like so. Maybe because of the difference, let's go to a 650. Not difference, the distance, my apologies. 1100. There we go. And then for this we'll go for 800. So if I get closer now, you'll see that snow cap is all well and good. Okay, so as you can see now, we've enabled snow caps on our mountains and we've been able to break it up a little bit. So let's go to a 0.1, 0.06, maybe a 5, yeah, 10. Let's break that up a little bit more and we'll raise that break up a bit more. And you can see now how it's got rid. Let's increase that height a bit. Reduce that height, my apologies. And you can see now how instead of having a straight line, even though it still looks straight in areas, a little bit bigger with that. Yeah, it's just overtaking that snow cap now. Yeah. So that is about 1.3. So in this transition, we can reduce that to a 0.1, 5, 10, 7, 2, 3, 5, 10. Quite what I was looking for, 0.1, 0.01. Yeah, so a 1.5, 2.5, 3.5. And that's breaking up enough. Let's just increase that a bit more. And now you can see how this breakup amount is affecting that straight line. And just absolutely breaking it up, which is intended what we want. And there we have it. Some nice snowcap material layer on top of our mountains that's being affected by slope detection and being affected by the world height and good stuff like that. I did say at the start, let's apply that. If I ever applied that, what does it need to make changes to? Nothing at all. So now we've got snow caps on there, which is here. I can set up a switch. It's not particularly hard. You're just coming in, get a switch parameter, and just enable snow cap. Like so, and you can just plug this in for true, and for false, just get a vector 1 and do that. Or, better still, so you're not just having weird stuff hanging about, you would need to duplicate this. We'll do one for the height, and this could be in there, and this could be in there, and then that can go in that output, and that can go in that output. We could simply apply that. The default is off. What I will do is change this group, just for testing purposes, and then apply. Like so. We'll go back to the world. You can see I've got no snow caps, but if I go ahead and enable this, it's like compile again, and you can see now we've got snow caps. Okay, so hopefully that was useful. It's a bit of a break up in the middle there with a bit of confusions just with simple set priorities in the function inputs. But overall, it's been quite successful there. What's coming up on the channel? I'm going to be looking at virtual textures very soon. This is because this shader is quite complex now. For saying it's a game shader, it is quite complex, but there will be a video about how we can reduce that complexity. Virtual textures is going to be one of them, so that will be coming up very soon, guys. And join the Discord and get more information on where I'm about, as I do post on there quite often. And I shall see you in the next video, guys. Thank you. Bye.